This is a older Toro roller. I call it a second generation. It's got the radial ball bearings, and it has a rotor seal and this stationary seal and a snap ring. That's the easiest way to identify these. When I disassemble these, I either drill a hole in the side of the shaft if I know I'm not going to reuse this shaft. If I think I might reuse it, I like to drill and tap a hole in the end here so I can pull the shaft, the bearing, and the seals out with this adapter. So the first step is to remove the snap ring. I'm going to drill and tap the end of this shaft so it will accept a 3/8 fine thread adapter to remove the shaft, the bearings, and the seals. It will also allow me to screw in this adapter, which will enable me to use this bearing and seal installation tool. This is the same tool that I use to install the bearings and seals on the new style or 3rd gen Toro rollers, and with this adapter, that's going to enable me to use this with this old style 2nd gen Toro roller. You could freehand drill and tap. You'll need a 21/64 drill bit and a 3/8 24 tap, which is a 3/8 fine thread. To make it easier, I have a guide here that I slip on, and I'll tighten this collar. That's going to guide my drill perfectly straight. Then I'll remove this cap, and this larger hole is going to guide my tap perfectly straight. You'll need a tap with a 3/8 diameter shank. I like to drill and tap one end of the shaft when I'm removing the shaft and bearings. And if I decide to reuse the shaft, then I'll go ahead and drill and tap both ends so I can install the bearing using these tools that I pointed out. Another option you have, if you're not going to reuse the shaft and you just want to remove it without using a hammer or a press, you could drill a cross drilled hole here and use the water pump bearing puller with a pin, and you may be a better option if you don't have the correct size drill and tap handy. Thread the adapter in. Puller bridge locked down. Leave a jacking screw in. Drop in the standoff. That will pull the bearing and the seals out much easier than using a hammer or a press or trying to slam this roller down. If you try to slam it down on the shaft to get all this stuff out, then you're risking these end caps coming off. Flip this around. Slip this shaft back in from the other end. Now if this bearing comes apart and leaves the outer race inside there, that's when I would use this collet, expand it inside the inner groove of this race to pull it out. Now to install the new bearings. If I'm reusing the old shaft, or even if I'm using a new shaft, what I do is I drill and tap each end of the shaft, then thread these adapters on. Then I can thread my installation tools on, one on each end. And then tighten until the bearings are fully seated. 1¼ inch wrench. Rest this one against the frame, and I'll tighten the other end. And both bearings will be pressed in at the same time. Very similar to the way the new Toro rollers are rebuilt. The main difference is these threaded adapters here, and of course to use those threaded adapters you need to drill and tap the end of the shaft. These are the same threaded adapters that are used for True Turf roller bearing installation. I have to take this adapter, unscrew it, and if I need to, I'll use a Allen socket and zip it off with an impact wrench. Now I've got the inner rotary seal that needs to be pressed on to the shaft. And I'm going to put a washer in here. This happens to be the washer that's comes with the rebuild kit for the new 3rd Gen Toro Rollers. And I'll put my adapters back on. And then the installation tools once again on each end, and then tighten until those components are pressed on to the end of that shaft journal. This doesn't take much force to press those on. I can do it by hand usually. Okay, I'm down here on the left end, and I just need to remove this threaded adapter that's stuck on, so I'm going to zip it off the impact wrench, and then try to remove this washer. Now I install the end cap, and this will have a little small seal inside of it with that little metal retainer, and I drive these in with a socket. Since these are not connected to the shaft, I can drive it in without affecting any other component. And then the retaining ring. And then we'll use, since I've drilled and tapped both ends of the shaft with a 3/8 fine thread, I'll need to use the correct grease fitting. with a 3/8 fine thread. And just to summarize, the key to rebuilding this type of roller is this adapter and drilling and tapping the end of each shaft. That allows me to pull the shaft and bearings out very easily with this adapter, which will screw in here. And it'll also allow me to use this adapter, which enables me to press the bearings in and that inner rotating seal all very easily.